Welcome back, and joining me now is Democratic Congressman Khanna of California. Congressman Khanna, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you. Happy Easter. Happy Easter to everyone.
Happy Easter to you. I hope you have a wonderful holiday. We appreciate your being here. I have to start by getting your reaction to this rescue mission of the second pilot that was shot down over Iran.
Well, I am relieved, and what an extraordinary achievement of our troops. I mean, they really deserve to be commended. But you know what the thing, Kristen, is that the president is really failing them. To have a tweet this morning cursing out and threatening war crimes, to be saying that we've destroyed the ballistic missile capacity of Iran, and yet having troops flying over that are being shot at. We need to end this war now. We need an immediate ceasefire. Iran, Israel, and the United States need to stop bombing and have a negotiated settlement.
Would you be okay, though, with leaving Iran without the Strait of Hormuz being reopened? President Trump has set that deadline for Monday, saying there are going to be significant consequences if it's not reopened.
Let me tell you what won't reopen the Strait of Hormuz: threatening war crimes of bombing indiscriminately power plants, cursing at Iran. What we need is statesmanship like President Obama had. What we need to do is to stop the bombing, have a ceasefire, and then to work with Oman, to work with China, to work with the Gulf allies and European allies to have a solution to allow Hormuz to be open. But it's not going to happen by massive escalation.
Is there any scenario where you would support new funding if it was determined necessary for the readiness of the military?
No, I'm not supporting new funding. I mean, they're asking for $400 billion. I know you asked Senator Kaine and Representative Lawler. The answer for every Democrat should be absolutely no. Absolutely no. We don't need to read it. We don't need to study it. It's $400 billion for a war that we oppose. We could have universal child care for that. We could have free public college for that. We could pay teachers $60,000 for that. I call it new economic patriotism. Democrats need to oppose this funding and say we're actually for the American people.
Well, let's talk about the other big news at the White House this week. President Trump firing Attorney General Pam Bondi. The top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee says he still wants to hear from Pam Bondi with her deposition scheduled for April 14th. Do you think Pam Bondi still needs to come and testify, even though she is now a private citizen, Congressman?
Yes. I mean, if we could chase Hillary Clinton, who hasn't been in office for 20 years, certainly we can get Pam Bondi to explain why she covered up documents, why we haven't had prosecutions. But, Kristen, the most important thing is there need to be two tests for this next Attorney General. First, the Senate needs to fight to make sure that they commit to releasing all Epstein files with no redactions other than survivors. And second, they need to begin investigations and prosecutions. There are people like Les Wexner and Leon Black who have allegedly have such horrific abuse, and there has not been any investigation.
You have been calling for all of the Epstein files to be released. You've spearheaded that effort, in fact. Congressman, what exactly are you going to do in this new phase now that the president's moving toward a new attorney general to make sure that all of the files are released? What can you do?
Well, first, we're going to make this the issue for any new attorney general. And people say, well, OK, they're going to come before the Senate and they may tell the Senate one thing and do something else. Well, then that new attorney general will face the same consequences as Pam Bondi, because there are Republicans on the Oversight Committee who are insisting on the release of all files. And there are a lot of the survivors who talk to me, who text me to this day saying, why aren't these people being prosecuted? So I'm going to continue to work in a bipartisan coalition, as Thomas Massie and I have, with Nancy Mace, with Lauren Boebert, with other people on oversight like Tim Burchett, to hold this Epstein class accountable and make sure the new attorney general actually follows the law.
Let me ask you, because you've asked for King Charles to meet with Epstein survivors when he visits the United States later this month. And the same request came from the family of Virginia Giuffre. She's, of course, a survivor of the Epstein's abuse. She died by suicide tragically last year. As you know, former Prince Andrew was stripped of his royal titles over his associations with Epstein. What exactly are you hoping and thinking that Epstein survivors will get from a conversation with the king?
Well, the Epstein survivors want this, not just Virginia Giuffre's family, but other survivors. They want someone powerful who to acknowledge that what they've been through. They want them to have justice for people who abuse them. And actually, Britain has been ahead of where we have been. They've been prosecuting Mendelssohn and prosecuting the former Prince Andrew. And the king has an opportunity to say, look, the modern British monarchy isn't going to be with the Epstein class, isn't going to just be fighting for the rich and powerful. We are going to stand with these survivors. It would be an extraordinary moment.
It would be extraordinary. Do you have any indication that that is something that is going to happen?
Well, I gave a long interview in the Times this morning, which the ambassador and others tell me the king reads. So I'm hoping he will really do it. He doesn't have to discuss the details of any of the cases. It would be an extraordinary moment, and it would mean a tremendous amount to the survivors.
All right. I do want to ask you, here we are in the midst of the midterms. You're someone who's been quite outspoken. You have made several appearances on a show hosted by socialist commentator Hassan Piker. Some of your fellow Democrats, though, have raised alarms about his views. Here are two members of a left-leaning think tank. This is how they put it. They wrote, quote, "No left-wing agitator is more influential and extreme than Twitch streamer Hassan Piker. He's referred to ultra-Orthodox Jews as inbred, employed anti-Semitic dog whistles, bloodthirsty, violent pig dog against an anti-Hamas viewer of his stream, compared liberal Zionists to liberal Nazis, and said Hamas is 1,000 times better than the Israeli state." Now, Hassan Piker says some of his comments have been taken out of context, but he largely stands by them. Do you have any regrets about appearing on his show?
None, and I would go again. But I, of course, condemn those comments. I mean, I've described Hamas as a terrorist state, and we need to unequivocally condemn anti-Semitism. But Hassan Piker was at the DNC in 2024, covering Vice President Harris. What should the standard of the Democrats be? Should we not go on Theo Vaughn? Should we not go on Sean Ryan? Should we not go on Joe Rogan? Should we just have these purity tests of canceling folks? The lesson of the last election is we've got to be out there. We've got to engage. It's a complex, messy, multiracial democracy. I will defend my views, but the people who are saying don't engage will cost us future elections.
Do you run the risk of legitimizing some of those views by appearing on his show? How do you answer that?
He's got millions of followers. He'll have millions of followers whether Ro Khanna goes on his show or not. The point is that we should go on and have tough conversations. You know, actually, I respect Rahm Emanuel. Rahm Emanuel says he'll go on, and if he makes a comment that I disagree with, then I will push back right there. So I think the test should be what you say. If someone is going on these programs and not pushing back against anti-Semitism, fine. But, you know, I haven't done the background check on you, Chris, and I'm sure there are no crazy comments.
I have not said anything like that. I can assure you that. Where do you draw the line, Congressman? Would you appear on, for example, a right-leaning show? Alex Jones, for example, who has made controversial comments that have enraged people, hurt people deeply in some instances.
Look, there is obviously a line, and I probably wouldn't appear on Alex Jones. But the point is, I don't think that that line should be with Hassan Piker, who has millions of followers. And largely what his view has been critical of the blank check that we gave Netanyahu in the war in Gaza. Now, I don't agree with every one of his statements, and it's a judgment call. But here's what I will say, Kristen. The Democratic Party has been too reluctant to get out there, to mix it up, to engage, and we should be on actually doing more of these things. We should have done more interviews during 2024. You know, Vice President Vance was on like 3 Sunday shows in a row. I was like, where are our folks? We've got to be out engaging in the media, out engaging in podcasts, out engaging in communities, and offering our vision going forward.
Okay. You're obviously someone who's getting a lot of buzz for 2028. Have you made that decision yet?
I'm focused first on 2026. We're going to win. We've got to stop Trump's corruption and lawlessness. But I have an economic vision, a vision of what we're going to do with AI to prevent job loss, a vision of what we're going to do, economic patriotism, to create jobs across this country, lower costs. And that needs to be what the Democrats are focused on.
So not ruling it out, Congressman, is what I hear.
I've got an economic vision, but we got to win first for the House.
All right. Well, listen, thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a great Easter holiday.
Same to you, Kristen.
Thank you, Congressman.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.